Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about self-defense, combat sport and martial art. And what is the difference and how do they complement each other? And what is San Chi Dao? Is it self-defense? Is it combat sport? Or is it a martial art? And I can tell you right away, we are all three. So in the beginning, when our logic is, in the beginning when people start train, they come for the self-defense and to build up self-esteem. In my experience, if you start right away with combat sport, a lot of people will fall off because it's simply too hard. When I started judo, I started jiu-jitsu and judo at the same time. That was my first martial arts. And actually the judo training was so hard, I didn't come back for 1.5 years. I stuck with the jiu-jitsu. The jiu-jitsu style I was doing was a self-defense style. In Denmark, where I come from, the Jiu-Jitsu Federation that I was a part of in Denmark was actually introduced in Denmark during World War II. So before World War II, Japanese senseis were coming to Europe, especially England and France, and some people from Denmark were on seminars there, brought it back to Denmark. And during World War II, the resistance fighters were training this form of Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. At the time, it was not separated the same way as it is today, where Judo and classical Jiu-Jitsu, you can very clearly see the difference. But the founder of Judo, Jigoro Kano, came from Jiu-Jitsu. So in the beginning, it was not that easy to see what is Judo and what is Jiu-Jitsu. And it was also like that before World War II, when these Japanese instructors came to Europe. And then, as I mentioned, resistance fighters in Denmark and in other countries, they were doing some form of Jiu-Jitsu. After World War II, Danish Judo and Jiu-Jitsu Federation was established, and it grew on from there. And I joined the federation in 1991. So the curriculum was actually based on self-defense, and you could say some of it is a little bit warlike because it came from the resistance fighters from World War II. But now in 1991, of course, there is more use for civilian use of the techniques, not so much for war. So the Jiu-Jitsu curriculum that I learned was more intended to use for civilians than for military purpose. So and this is good to know both. So, and they also teach that still what is military techniques and what is for civilian use, and this is a very good way to separate it, because if you are a civilian and let's say me, I'm a grown man and some young kid attacks me. If he's just 16 years old and I use some kind of military technique on him, I would probably go to jail, because that would be overreacting. If he's just a young kid, maybe he's drunk and just want to pick on a semi-old guy. If I use military technique on him or try to kill him in some way, I will go to jail. So in that case, it would be much more. It would be better for the situation if I just use some restraining techniques or just break his balance or something, not try to kill him. So, but that was the way I started. And I also tried judo at the same time, but oh my God, that was hard. They just throw you so very hard. I didn't come back there for 1.5 years, maybe 2 years. And that was because I wanted to be better at throwing. And so that meant I had 1.5, 2 years where I could learn how to fall, learn when does it hurt when somebody do a lock on you, and you get a little bit toughened up. Because if you come directly from the street and think, okay, I want to do judo, and if you come into a hard club where they just almost try to kill each other, or really doing tough techniques, you're gonna stop. And also there were not many members at the judo club, and the same for the boxing club. It was in the same building. If new people came in, they would just put them in the ring and just beat them up. they never come back. So in my experience, it's a good idea to learn some self-defense first, learn what is the limit of your capabilities, how hard can you punch somebody, how hard can you lock somebody or throw them without getting injured, and then scale it up gradually. And then when you're comfortable and you are a little bit toughened up, okay, then easily start on the combat sport element. Now you can start sparring lightly. You know something about punching and kicking. You know something about locking and throwing. Okay, now you can start on the martial sports, the martial sports aspect, combat sport aspect of the martial arts. And of course, you can only do combat sport for so long. Eventually you're gonna get older and you're gonna get injuries, and competing with young people who is much better fit than you is not going to be. I'm laughing because I'm talking of own experience. If I was supposed to go head to toe with some 20-year-old guy, I can't do that. I don't have the stamina for that. So, but I still want to keep practicing. So for me, martial art is the highest level. It means you try to do the perfect technique, use as little powers as possible, so that you can still compete a little bit with the young people. Not that you have to, but you can also just be their trainer. So in my point of view, self-defense, combat sport, and martial art are not separated like that. They complement each other. And that's important, because instead of arguing what is better, what is self-defense better, or combat sports better, or martial arts better, no, they complement each other. And it also depends on what do you want. If you want to win medals, well, you can't win medals in martial arts or in self-defense. You can only win medals in combat sport. You need to go to tournaments and win medals. If you want to self-defense, you need to know something about self-defense. You need to know, okay, what happens when somebody approaches me and starts calling me bad names and maybe wants to attack me. You don't learn that in combat sport. When you do combat sport, you are looking at the techniques that the other people are going to use against you, and what can I do against that? And that is also good. That means that you can test your things on somebody who is resisting and who knows what you are doing. And that gives you a lot of great skills that you can use in self-defense or in martial art for that matters. In martial arts, you probably think martial arts, okay, the perfect technique, you would probably think about Aikido or Tai Chi. And they go for that perfect technique and unifying body, mind and soul, and also have the philosophy side of it that you might not have in the combat sport or in the self-defense department. So I think they all help each other, these three elements. And when we teach San Chi Dao, we start by teaching them self-defense, learning some techniques. What do you do in a situation if you run into them on the street? It also depends upon what is self-defense. Are you a small girl or a small boy and you are expecting to get robbed by a big male or big female for that matters? Not that happens that often, but it could happen. Or are you a bouncer or policeman? Or maybe you work in a school. So what is the scenario? So we train scenario training. What is what is it that you are expecting to happen? And then train that. And when they get comfortable after a couple of years of training, many of them, they want to test it a little bit. Oh, okay, what if he's resisting and so on? Okay, then you can start moving on to the next category, combat sport. So, but we still train without rules, so it is not full contact. So we need to be careful with each other. But you can still train it without rules, just don't hurt your training partner and do it a little bit fighting. Now you know how to lock, how to punch, how to kick, how to fall. okay, now you can start on the combat sport element of it. And when you're comfortable in that, you can start on the martial arts side of it. You can start making all the other techniques more effective by doing the things that martial arts are doing, by employing the body, mind, and spirit, and all these little tricks that comes from that category, and put it into the two other categories. So everything becomes more effective this way. In my opinion, it makes logic to do it like that, because if you start with only the martial arts, or not only, but if you start with the martial arts, there are so many details that makes it effective, but the more details you put on, the more difficult it also becomes to employ and to make work in a real situation. Yes, it's very effective if you can get all these points correct at the right time, but it takes a lot of training. Whereas if you take the self-defense, just kick him in the groin, poke him in the eyes, and run away, it's so easy, anybody can do it. And then in the middle, we have combat sport. It's becoming a little bit more advanced, because now you're not just kicking him in the groin and punching him in the nose or poking him in the eye. He's also defending. So that is the next level. That's a natural progression. And then to the martial art, there's also a natural progression, because you makes your combat sport much better with internal training. And of course, there's a lot of debate about internal training, or hey, it doesn't work, or people don't understand it because they can't see it. But it's not magic. It's just training and knowing what to do. And internal is not just internal, it is also external. There are external movements. They're just very small. So people, they can't see it, and they can't see where is the power coming from. It doesn't mean it doesn't work. Then you could say, okay, you don't see many internal masters going up in competition. But most people, when they get to that level, they are already semi-old or very old when they get these abilities, and it takes a lot of time. So naturally, you're going to be old if you want to learn it, because it takes time. It's not that easy. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, but it's hard to apply. Yes, it is, because there are many factors that need to be employed for it to work. But if you already have basic training or combat experience, then you can always fall back on that. If you have trained it, if you have only trained the most advanced stuff and you have never been into a conflict your whole life, of course it's going to be hard to do it in a real situation. The best way to learn to use it is to use it. If you only use it in the dojo and never test it with pressure, of course it's going to be difficult. But not everybody wants to be a MMA world champion, king of the fighters. They just want to learn some self-defense. They also have a job and a family, so they can't put that much time into it. So, but this is the three categories, and when I look at YouTube and see people, these are bad, and these are bad, or we are the only ones who is doing it correct, I'm like, you are really closing your eyes, and you are missing the point of the self-defense, or the combat sport for that matter, because I also hear self-defense instructors say, oh, but combat sport, they have rules, they can't do that, and that. Yes, but combat sport, yes, they cannot bite and they cannot poke the eyes, but you really get some super qualities from combat sport. You get somebody who's really resisting, and you get used to get a little bit of punishment yourself, so that if you are ending up in a self-defense situation, you are used to getting a little bit of punishment yourself, and you are used to people who is resisting you. And not all self-defense systems are doing that. Some self-defense systems, they never pressure tested. So if they are being pressured, they're going to have a hard time using it. And the same for for martial art, if they never pressure test it, they are also going to have a hard time using it. But the combat sport can be more effective if you supply it with martial art technique, because they are so refined, they have so many details to make the techniques more effective. And if you can put that into your combat sport, you become more effective. Or if you remember, you can also bite, poke in the eyes, kick in the groin. From the self-defense side, your combat sport also become more effective, because you become aware of, okay, I cannot just eat it when he's poking me in the eye. I need to be aware of that too. Or kicking my groin, I can't depend on only that I can wrestle him down, because if he grabs my balls, I have to do something about it, because they're priority number one. That really hurts. So in our view, we need to look at all three elements, and we are prioritizing them in the order of self-defense, combat sport, martial art, because it's a logical way of progression. And in our view, you need all three elements to become complete, because they supplement each other. I think if people realize that and think about that, maybe they wouldn't pick so much on each other and say, oh, they're bad, they can't use it. Then instead of saying that, look at what they are doing good and then steal it. Use it in your own combat sport. Or if you're doing martial art and you're looking at combat sport, they don't have that. No, maybe they don't, but they have that and that and that, and then use it in your martial art. When I look at martial artists, Aikido practitioners, for instance, the ones that makes it the best, in my opinion, are the ones that have used it. Maybe they are also high graduated in karate and have been to competitions. Maybe some of them have used it in the real world. They do it much more convincing, because they have elements from sport or from self-defense. It makes the martial arts so much better. And also, if I look at self-defense instructors, well, if there's a self-defense instructor who has also done some judo training or some boxing training or Muay Thai or Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, some kind of sport, then his self-defense, in my opinion, is so much better. So that was it for today. Hope you liked it. Don't forget to subscribe. Looking forward to see you in the next video. All the best to all of you.